Hi everyone, welcome back to another Onkruid video, welcome back to another unedited Soulstone Survivors video. I feel like I just already butchered the word video right there at the start, but I think I'm just gonna leave it in like that. Let's go for a nice little solid barbarian run. We know it works, we know we have fun with it, let's just go, because I need to be quick, because I want to actually do a little League of Legends game still before I have to go to sleep. And I have to go to sleep because I have to go to work tomorrow quite early. 3 patients and then a little meeting about diagnostic research at my other workplace. First patient is about worrying and burnout. Second patient is about depressive feelings and we're doing behavioral activation. Third patient is an intake of a patient who went to her general practitioner and told her, like, you know, I'm dealing, or that's at least what I presume because I haven't seen her yet, I'm dealing with some mental health stuff, with some psychological issues. Could you maybe advise me someone or point me the way to someone that can help me with that? And the general practitioner was kind enough to tell them, like, hey, yeah, in this practice in the neighborhood, they have a noob psychologist that just recently started that still has some room in his schedule for you. And that's how she got my address, my email address that is. I'm looking forward to seeing her and definitely to also see what I can do for her. Hopefully I can do something for her because it is my duty, my responsibility, and I am obliged to send her to one of my colleagues if I don't feel competent enough to help her. So I definitely need to still keep that in mind when I see new clients, that it doesn't necessarily always have to mean that I have to start up an entire therapy trajectory with them, if you will. Sometimes I can just feel like, you know, I think you're better suited for one of my colleagues. And it's a hard decision to make, because that often will mean that that person will have to wait for a couple months probably until she finally has a space with one of my colleagues. But I think she's better off waiting a couple months than paying like $200 or $210 to, after 3 sessions, find out that, you know, there's not really quite a good match with the way I work and the problems they are experiencing. That is definitely why it's an important job, though it's such an intake conversation. Important to stay attentive to every single aspect and important to question them on every single subject there is, except maybe for their preferred order at Taco Bell, because that's something just so personal that you can't really delve into something like that the first time you see someone, right? Do they just get the refried beans burrito? Do they get something with buttloads of cheese and chicken on there? What's their order, you know? That's something for later. Something only when the deepest secrets are being revealed. Only then can such subjects come to pass. Do I think that therapy can only be effective if a client really tells the therapist everything about all their secrets? No, I don't think so. Why do I not think so? I think that a lot of work is always to be done by the client and also by the client in between sessions. And I think that if the therapist can really listen to what the client is telling them, they can, in a sense, already provide the right feedback, the right techniques, the right tactics, and the right feelings and stuff, the right ways of thinking about stuff, the right perspectives, if you will, to deal with other problems in life that might not come up in the therapy session. Because, I mean, a therapy session is not supposed to be just focused on... It is focused on the here and now almost always, also a bit on the past sometimes, especially at the start, but I digress either way. It doesn't always have to be focused on, alright, how do I solve the problems that are in my life right at this second? No, it's more of a long-term solution, so that when new problems arise, you will also know how to deal with them, or hopefully at least. And I think that is the beauty of therapy. The beauty of therapy is that you don't always have to know every single detail about your client's life. Sometimes you can just work with what the client gives you and you can together kind of distill some tips and tricks, some general tendencies the client can adapt into their life, into their way of life. Even if you don't have the entire picture, you can still introduce little snippets that could be life-changing nonetheless, even though we just call them little snippets. And that is the beauty of it. Enough therapy talk. What did I do this weekend? I saw Avatar and Avatar 2 Way of the Water. James Cameron, beautiful movie. Soundtrack by James Horner, on the first movie at least, don't know about the second movie. Actors like Sam Worthington. That's about all the names I remember. I know that Sigourney Weaver also plays an important part in the movies, or at least in the first movie. In the second movie, she has passed away, sadly. Spoiler alert. And how did I enjoy them? Well, I enjoyed them a-okay, actually. They were actually fine. I must say, looking back at it now, I definitely enjoyed the first one a lot. The one we watched at home on Saturday before going to the movie theater Saturday evening to watch the second one. Just to get back into the groove, get back into the vibe a bit again, which I can definitely recommend because that was a great approach to get into the general aesthetic and to the universe of the planet of Pandora, stuff like that. And the general mindset of all the protagonists and antagonists. Either way, that was okay, that was fun experience. It had been probably more than 10 years since I had seen the movie, because it came out in 2009, which is quite a while ago, but it still holds up. And that was a fun experience. Now the second movie, The Way of the Water. Watched it in theaters. It was worth the money, that's for sure. I don't regret buying a ticket and going into the movie theater to see that movie. It was a very enjoyable experience. It was a beautiful movie. Did it live up to waiting like almost 10, hold 5 multiplied by 6 to the second power? A lot of years? No. Well, it's hard. It's a hard decision to make. I'm also not that big on movies normally, so I feel quite bad talking about this kind of stuff, giving my opinion on this, because my opinions are probably not based at all. But let me cook, okay? Let me cook. I feel like it was an a-okay movie. It was worth a movie ticket, especially the visuals were beautiful. We will get into that in a second. Do I think it lives up to the entire wait time? Not necessarily. And the biggest downfall for me, the biggest negative part about the movie, the part I dislike the most, is the fact that you can clearly see that they made some decisions and used some storylines and some weird character development arcs just for the sake of being able to squeeze even more movies out of the franchise. Whereas the first Avatar movie was such a clear-cut story. It had a beautiful start, beautiful middle, beautiful ending. It was very clear where it was going all the time. And it was always just like, alright, this event happens because of this, and it triggers the next event in this way. That makes sense. What the characters are doing makes sense. I have gotten to know them throughout the movie, and I realize this is how they will act in these situations. That's okay. In the second movie, I feel like sometimes they had to make sure that things went in a way that allowed them to create more movies in the future. And that makes your story a bit blander, I feel like. A bit less making sense. And it doesn't always have to make sense, it doesn't always have to be predictable, but when the reasoning behind not being predictable is that they have to make decisions in terms of keeping the series alive and keeping cliffhangers available and stuff, yeah, no, that's not really what I like. What did I like though? Soundtrack was pretty much bussin'. Definitely also the cinematography, and big shout out to the colors. Movie is The Way of the Water. There's a small spoiler alert in order, but I won't go into the story all that much. Maybe one detail about the story, which is actually quite revealing about the antagonists of the movie. So if you don't want to hear about it, maybe skip this video, but come back tomorrow though, please. I need you. We're almost at 200 subscribers. Maybe by the time this video is uploaded, we're almost at 300 subscribers, so I need you. Either way, the colors, man. It's a movie all about water. They live in a water environment, so you would feel like, alright, blue is gonna be the dominant color throughout the entire movie, but no. Oh man, so many beautiful colors above and also under the water. That's really where the set designers, the VFX artists, and just the entire movie crew together did an amazing job, to be honest. Like, an amazing job on the coloring, the color schemes of both animals and just like plants, of both wildlife, of fauna and flora, really. Both elements were beautifully portrayed in terms of color. And that was one of the most enjoyable, parts of the movie, in my opinion, the coloring. I also quite liked the story in the end, but there were, as I said, some caveats, some weird decisions just to keep the story rolling. There's this one, and here a spoiler alert is in order, there's this one sequence towards the end of the movie where, for example, the children of the main protagonist are kind of like going on a boat, being captured by the enemy, escaping from that boat, but then going back on the boat, and then 2 other children are captured by the enemy, so then the children that previously got off the boat have to then go save the other children that are now captured, and then the children switch place again. It's kind of a weird back and forth sequence. sometimes there are also just like major question marks that come up. Like for example, in one of the final battles, where did the entire fishing village or the entire water Navi village go? They all rode into battle together, and then all of a sudden we only have Jake, Sully, his wife, and his children in the middle of the fray, and all the rest is just gone home, which is very weird. And then also one of the biggest plot holes, in my opinion, is that, oh no, Kiri, she has epileptic seizures when she connects to the Earth Mother, to the All Mother, to Aima, or whatever her name is, their deity, the one they really appraise as being a god in their world. And alright, that's cool, that's interesting, she has a special connection, but then nothing happens. Nothing gets done with this information, and she just connects to whatever she wants throughout the rest of the movie. So that's quite of a big plot hole as well. Who knows, maybe it will come up in the next movies, but that then ties into my criticism of why does it have to be multiple movies again? Why can't they just make a second Avatar that is a beautiful story in and of its own again? Why does it have to be elongated into even more movies? And the short answer is probably money, which I can respect, of course, because money is what keeps the world turning, but still it's quite sad. It gives the movie a bit of a weird feel sometimes. And that's where, and this is a major spoiler alert, my major criticism of the movie comes in. I find Spider's character arc to just be unbelievable. I find it to be weird in general. He has lived his entire life in between the Na'vi. He sees his own father commit cruelties, atrocities, almost kill his best friends, and still, because he feels like all of a sudden Jake and his wife Neftiri or something are also kind of savages, or maybe they killed their father, his father in cold blood, all of a sudden he feels like, alright, I need to save my father. That doesn't make sense at all. I think that a real human living in that situation definitely would have not saved the general, saved the corporal, whatever his name is, saved the bad guy in that situation. And that's one of those situations where it's purely done so that he can stay alive and be back for another movie, of course. And that's where I respect the movie makers the most, really, in their decision to just kind of revive the bad guys. You all hear about Deus Ex Machinas and stuff, about the good guys all of a sudden getting Hail Marys that saves their entire situation. But here, it's kind of on the bad side, because he died. He breathed his last breath. He got impaled by 2 arrows straight to the chest. There's no coming back from that, that's for sure. But then all of a sudden they do bring him back, and that's because of technology where they stored his mind and feelings and charm and stuff, and they imported it into a new avatar. So now the bad guys have avatars as well. But it's kind of weird because his entire team gets revived, but not only did you not get attached to his team at all in the previous movie, now you do it even less, because they just get killed off one by one rather quickly. In the end, only the main bad guy is the one that actually survives. And the new captain of the bad guys that is on the planet, the woman played by Kate Winslet, if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't really matter that she's there. She really doesn't serve a function. Yeah, there were some weird decisions made in this movie, that's for sure, but still, purely because of the cinematography in combination with the beautiful soundtrack and just like all the images on screen, all the beautiful created animals as well, and some of the characters, some of the storylines, that's for sure, they were also beautiful. It was worth the movie ticket price, even though movie ticket prices kind of require you to go out to the bank and request a loan, or alternatively sell a kidney of one of you or one of your loved ones. If you want to take them to the movie, for example, you can tell them like, hey, come on, I'll pay for the net shows if you get the movie tickets. All it costs, just one small little kidney payment, man. Head into the black market and we will be able to go see Avatar: The Way of the Water. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.